So you get the game and start it up. You're greeted with a classic Frank Sinatra tune while you set fire to this corpse. You then control a cop in this little restaurant. And this is the only time in this series that you get to see what Gotham's like, when it's filled with regular people rather than just goons and bandits. It feels kinda cozy in here. You got the Halloween vibes, it's nighttime and raining outside, decorations, comforting music, but you know that everything's about to go to shit. Not only because it was already spoiled during the E3 gameplay, but because there needs to be a conflict. After getting sprayed with Scarecrow's killer ass gas and getting pounded by these ghouls, the camera pans out, revealing the gorgeous city, and you're given control of your polar opposite in terms of physicality, while an electrifying orchestra elevates the scene. The overwhelming sense of wonderment from it all causes neuronal overload within your brain, and you almost spontaneously bust a nut. But you compose yourself. This game looks how the juiciest of candies taste. That's the best way I can describe it. It looks like it came out today rather than 8 years ago. No detail was left untouched. You've got the oversized moon, badass lightning, the crisp ocean beating under the moonlight. You've got blimps and copters filling the sky, skyscrapers penetrating the clouds. You've got atmospheric fog, ominous statues, neon-lit signs, and classic billboards that emanate gritty, noir vibes. Easter eggs and references to other characters within the DC universe. Wayne Manor in the distance. Each building looks handcrafted and distinct. You can see Arkham Asylum and Arkham City in the distance, which are where the previous games took place, and create a sense of continuity within the series. You've got the outer part of the city that adds to that sprawling metropolitan urban feel, and the police cars and sirens cement the noir vibes. And everything glistens under the rain, which further adds to the atmosphere, and you've got this epic score in the background that just injects aura into the game. The game is so aesthetically pleasing, the sound is so thunderous. It all feels so luxurious. It's like you're playing a high-budget Batman movie the whole way through. The thing about this game is that it goes out of its way to make you feel as badass as possible. Like when you first get your badass suit, you put it on and the game's like,
oh, high caliber naturally sourced grade A armor renders the suit more effective against bullets.
shock absorption pads juxtapose the fiber optic finger up your ass, increases glide speed.
High class memory foam steel plated iron quantum quadratics increase speed and agility.
Meanwhile, you're just sitting there with the biggest smile on your face, thinking, man, this is cool. I love it when games do this kind of epic shit. Or when Batman throws the Batarang and the camera follows it and zooms out so you can see the entire city, and then the Batarang comes back while the camera follows it seamlessly, and he catches it. It's like being on a freaking roller coaster, man. It's so epic, so thrilling. The game goes out of its way to make everything feel so grandiose and epic that sometimes you just have to chuckle while playing it. There's rarely a dull moment. The story has twists and it does weird and interesting things. Combat feels great too, not only because it's so fluid, but also because of how crisp and thunderous the sound is. When you're beating the shit out of these goons, you can really hear their asses getting cooked into mashed meat. The feedback really hits the spot. The world also organically guides you to points of interest. Like for example, you'll be perched up somewhere and see a building on fire. You'll glide over to it and trigger a side mission. Or you'll be gliding around and hear opera music, which will get louder the closer you get to the speaker that's playing it, and it leads to a crime scene. You'll grapple to this building and this creature pops out of nowhere. Rather than just placing icons everywhere on the map, the world organically reveals points of interest to you by arousing your curiosity. By the way, the Professor Pig side mission was awesome. It was so cool to watch it all play out and find out who was behind all those dead bodies. And it could not have been a weirder fucker, which made it even more entertaining. I also like how the game uses a compass instead of a minimap. A lot of times when there's a minimap, it reveals too much information, to the point where it's more helpful to play through the whole game while staring at the minimap rather than looking at the actual game itself. Let's talk about some of my gripes with this game. So the Batmobile is awesome to drive around in, and the car combat is okay, but it's only fun in very small doses. The car is best used to drive around in, and the car combat would have been fine if it was kept at a minimum, or they could have minimized the car combat in the main story and just kept it optional in side quests and those AR challenges. But again, driving the car felt awesome. It was really fluid, easy to control. Another problem is that the stealth sections are way too easy. Even on the hardest difficulty, there's a lot of room for error and sloppiness. It's so easy to just sneak up behind any enemy and do a silent takedown. They should have incentivized you to make use of your gadgets and environments more during stealth. Boss fights were also kind of underwhelming, especially compared to Arkham City and Origins. The only boss fight I even remember from the main story is when you had to fight Arkham Knight. But I was most disappointed by what they did with Hush's storyline. I was looking forward to seeing where they would have taken that in this game, but it was as if they tried to shut it down as quickly as possible. They could have done so much more with that concept. They must have had time constraints or something that stopped them from working on it, because this can't be how they actually wanted Hush's storyline to play out. Knowing Rocksteady, knowing how they go above and beyond, it was obvious that something happened behind the scenes. The same goes for the Deathstroke side missions. You fire stupid ass cannons to his tank, and he goes to sleep with one punch to the noggin, like a limped noodle, rather than showcasing his badassery like in Arkham Origins.
I'm on my way. ever get reinforcements.
Under opposite tank.
Yes! Watch your mouth!